I don't have to give you this gentleman's qualifications as an actor. I think he is probably considered by other actors and people in the entertainment profession as probably the greatest actor of our times. I admire him for that. I also admire Marlon Brando for his conscience as an American and his moral commitment when he believes in something. Will you welcome, please, Mr. Marlon Brando.
Roman cinema in 1954, one of Hollywood's most revered actors sat transfixed in horror. Which should have been a triumphant moment, watching his Oscar-winning performance in On the Waterfront at its Italian premiere, instead became a nightmare that haunted Marlon Brando's relationship with his craft forever. As foreign words poured from his mouth on screen, the man who had revolutionized acting through raw authenticity felt his artistic soul being violated. His explosive reaction that night, witnessed by stunned agents and dignitaries, revealed a deeper torment that plagued the legendary actor throughout his career. The incident exposed not just Brando's perfectionism, but his profound struggle with the very nature of performance, fame, and the way Hollywood commodified its talent. This wasn't merely about dubbing, it was about an artist's desperate fight to maintain his integrity in an industry that constantly threatened to transform him into something he despised. The making of a method revolutionary. Marlon Brando didn't simply act, he transformed the very essence of what it meant to perform on screen. When he emerged on the Hollywood scene in the 40s, having first captivated Broadway audiences, he brought with him a revolutionary approach that forever changed cinema. His breakthrough came with originating the role of Stanley Kowalski in A Streetcar Named Desire on Broadway, a character that demanded he channel raw, primal energy that few actors of his era dared to access. The transition from stage to screen only amplified Brando's unique power. When Elia Kazan directed the film adaptation of Streetcar, Brando's performance became the gold standard for what would later be known as method acting. He didn't just play Stanley, he inhabited him, bringing a sense of dangerous authenticity that made audiences uncomfortable in the best possible way. This wasn't the polished theatrical acting that had dominated Hollywood. This was something visceral and real. His approach earned him immediate recognition and 5 Academy Award nominations during the 1950s alone, with his first win coming in 1954 for On the Waterfront. In that film, his portrayal of Terry Malloy, a conflicted dock worker caught between loyalty and conscience, demonstrated his ability to convey complex internal struggles through subtle physical expressions and naturalistic dialogue delivery. Each role he chose seemed to push boundaries, whether it was the conflicted biker in The Wild One or the complex characters that defined his later career in films like The Godfather, Apocalypse Now, and Last Tango in Paris. But this very authenticity that made Brando revolutionary also became the source of his deepest anxieties. He had built his reputation on being genuine, on bringing truth to artificial situations, and this created an impossible standard that haunted him throughout his career. The torment of perfectionism.
To help your ratings, I'll maybe say something. I think that we couldn't survive a second if we weren't able to act. That acting is a survival mechanism.
Brando's reputation as a difficult actor wasn't born from arrogance. It stemmed from an almost pathological need for artistic integrity. His demanding nature on sets became legendary, with countless stories emerging from productions like The Island of Dr. Moreau and Mutiny on the Bounty, where his refusal to compromise nearly brought filming to a halt. When he didn't believe in a scene or felt it lacked authenticity, he would simply refuse to perform, often in what colleagues described as an immature manner. This perfectionism wasn't limited to his own performances. Brando possessed an acute awareness of every element that contributed to the final product, from lighting to sound to the way his co-actors delivered their lines. He understood cinema was a collaborative art form, but he also recognized that each component had the power to either enhance or destroy the truth he was trying to convey. This hyper-awareness made him incredibly valuable to directors who shared his vision, but it also made him a nightmare for those who viewed filmmaking as merely a commercial enterprise. His obsession with authenticity extended beyond the cameras. He researched his roles meticulously, often spending months preparing for characters by immersing himself in their worlds. For On the Waterfront, he spent time with actual dock workers, learning their mannerisms, their speech patterns, and their struggles. This dedication to truth made his performances unforgettable, but it also created an internal conflict when the final product didn't meet his exacting standards. His co-workers often noted Brando seemed to carry the weight of his characters long after filming wrapped. The emotional investment he made in each role left him vulnerable and exposed, creating a psychological toll that few in Hollywood truly understood. This vulnerability made the events at the Roman premiere all the more devastating. The Roman Nightmare. The 1954 Italian premiere of On the Waterfront should have been a celebration. Brando had delivered what many considered his finest performance, earning critical acclaim and an Academy Award. The film's exploration of corruption and moral courage had resonated with audiences worldwide, and the Rome screening was meant to honor both the film and its star. Instead, it became a traumatic experience that crystallized all of Brando's fears about losing control over his artistic voice. As Hank Kaufman and Gene Lerner detailed in their memoir Hollywood on the Tiber, the evening began with promise but quickly descended into chaos. When Brando arrived at the cinema in a black Cadillac, he was unprepared for the hysteria that greeted him. A screaming mob of fans engulfed the car, and the actor, who despite his fame remained deeply uncomfortable with public attention, was visibly shaken by the intensity of their adoration. Inside the theater, seated next to 19-year-old Sophia Loren, Brando's discomfort only intensified. The agents recalled how the usually articulate actor became completely tongue-tied, unable to form coherent sentences in the presence of the Italian beauty. His nervous energy was palpable as he struggled not to stare, creating an awkward tension that permeated their section of the theater. But nothing could have prepared him for what happened when the film began. As the familiar opening scenes of On the Waterfront played out, Brando heard not his carefully crafted performance, but an Italian voice speaking his lines. The dubbing, a standard practice for foreign releases, transformed his nuanced delivery into something completely foreign. Every inflection he had labored over, every pause he had calculated for maximum emotional impact, was now being delivered by a stranger. The reaction was immediate and visceral. Brando was seen, quote, staggering up from his seat as if from a heart attack, demanding to know why nobody had warned him about the dubbing. His distress was so acute, his agents feared he might actually be having a medical emergency. The freak show revelation. What happened next revealed the deepest source of his career-long anxiety. As he struggled to process what he was experiencing, he said, reportedly, "I've never seen myself dubbed. I'm an actor, not a ventriloquist dummy. For Christ's sake, can you imagine what it's like to hear somebody else's voice come out of my mouth? You feel like a goddamn freak in a sideshow." This wasn't merely professional disappointment, it was existential horror. Brando had built his entire approach to acting on the foundation of authentic self-expression. His voice, his delivery, his precise control over every syllable was integral to his artistic identity. To see his physical performance paired with another actor's voice was like having his soul extracted and replaced with someone else's. The freak in a sideshow comparison was particularly revealing. Throughout his career, he had struggled with the commercialization of his talent and persona. Hollywood had a way of taking artists and turning them into products, stripping away their humanity in favor of marketable images. The dubbing represented the ultimate violation of this process. His very voice, the most intimate expression of his craft, had been deemed expendable and replaceable. His agents tried to calm him, warning leaving the premiere would create negative publicity that would overshadow the film's artistic merits. They convinced him to visit a nearby bar and return just before the film's conclusion. When the lights came up, there was Brando, leaning over the mezzanine railing to accept the wild applause. The broader pattern of alienation.
Let me ask you something. Or several. I was going to say I feel like a kid in a candy store because we can only take about 2 pieces out of all the things I want to talk to you and ask you about. I'm interested in so damn many things about you. Were you happy with the way The Godfather came out?
I'd rather not talk about movies. I don't think they're...
That's all right.
The Roman incident was not isolated, but a crystallization of the deeper psychological struggles that defined his career. Throughout the 50s and beyond, he repeatedly found himself at odds with an industry that wanted to package and sell his talent, while he desperately fought to maintain artistic control and personal authenticity. Now it's time to hear from you. What's your favorite role from Marlon Brando? Let us know in the comments section below.